Welcome back. Today I'm going to try to solve some puzzles on chess.com. If you've been following along in my puzzle run number 5, I've made it up to 2142 in my puzzle rating. If you're new to my channel, I'm not a titled player or a chess coach. I'm just a random person who enjoys chess, and I'm trying to get better at it. Let's just switch over there. I clicked puzzles and it loaded a puzzle. I thought it was going to go to the actual page where you get to choose what thing you do. But anyway, my opponent has just moved this pawn, threatening my bishop. The first thing I like to look for is checks. I do not have any checks in this position. The next thing I like to look for is captures. Here, I believe the only captures I have are that knight and that pawn, as well as this pawn. Another thing I look for is threats. I can threaten the queen by bringing in this other knight here, the knight from c3. I can put it on d5 and threaten their queen, but I don't think that changes much. They could just going to drop back, because if they don't drop back, I'll have the fork down there on c7. So I assume they would just drop back to d1. Oh, but then I have this bishop for free, I think, because they're not going to take the knight, right? If they take the knight, then I get their queen, and they would, I assume, take back. So they would get 2 minor pieces for their queen. That seems pretty good to me. I'm going to put the knight on d5. I don't see anything else. Oh, they did move their queen back. Okay, well, then I should get this bishop for free, correct? Oh, no, but they're still going to get this bishop. Oh, okay, so do I have to take the knight first? And then when they take back with one of these pieces, then I get their bishop for free? Because I don't think I should take that knight with my knight, because then they can take my bishop. So I'm going to take the knight with the bishop first, and then take their bishop. Okay, oh, and there's still more. Well, I guess I can put it back on d5 where they can trade for it, but I'm a piece ahead now, right? Because I can't put it anywhere else that's safe. That'll mess up my pawn structure a little bit, but I think I'll be okay. I'm putting the knight back on d5, and then I take it with the pawn. Okay, that was a lot of moves, but I think we understood the gist of it. Okay, do we have any checks? I do have a check, but that seems really bad because of the rook guarding there. Is that oh, that's not my only check. I have this check. I have this check with the bishop. What happens if I check with the queen? Let's assume they'll take it. So they take it. Then I would check with the bishop. They can't come over here because of my rook on f1 guarding those 2 squares. They'd have to move over, and then I have checkmate. Maybe they won't take then. If I check here, maybe they'll move over first. And if they move over first, then I take the rook, and when they take back with the knight, then I have checkmate with this rook. So I think it's the queen. Because what happens if I take with the bishop first? Wait, I have checkmate either way, don't I? No, because then they move over, and I don't have a follow-up, because their rook's still down there. So it has to be the queen. I think. I'm going to try with the queen. Oh, they did move over. Well, then I'm going to take the rook, because I can't yet do my rook check. So if I have to take the rook first, which is a check, it forces them to take with the knight, and then I checkmate with my rook. All right, I'm glad I figured that one out too. All right, I'm in check. I have to get out of check. I have multiple ways to get out of check. In this case, I cannot capture the checking piece, so I can only move or block. If I block this check with the rook, they're going to take that, and that's checkmate. That leaves me 2 other choices, and those 2 choices are moving the king to g1 or moving the king to e1, and so I have to figure out what the difference is between those 2. If I go to e1, they can check me again by putting the queen over, and if I go to g1, they can check me again by putting the queen over. However, if I was on e1 and they checked me there, then what would I do? Just come back? But if I'm on g1 and they check me again, then I can block with the rook. And then when they run away, oh, I'm threatening mate here. Okay, see, I think maybe that's the problem here, so I'm threatening mate. I think it has to be g1. Let's just check. Because they wouldn't be able to check me here or here because of my rook and my bishop guarding those squares. The only way that they would be able to check me again if I move to g1 is moving over to g3. I mean, the only way they'd be able to safely check me again. And then I could block that with the rook. And then I don't know what they would do because, again, I'm threatening checkmate. I'm going to go to g1. Oh, okay, they did do that. Well, I'm pretty sure I have to block with the rook instead of just moving over. If I go back, we're going to repeat. That's a repetition, draw by repetition. If I go to h1, they can go back, and then we repeat. So I think I block with the rook here. I'm going to do that. Oh, they took it. Well, then I'm going to take their queen. And then what are they going to do? Because I'm still threatening checkmate. Oh, okay. And so, and I got 6 points. In my previous video, I was surprised that I got 5 points for several of my solved puzzles because that was higher than the last few before that. This time I got 6 points. So it seems like they're gradually increasing what you get for a solved puzzle. Good, let's keep going. Okay, my opponent has taken a free pawn here and threatened my queen. What do I have? I have a check. That's, I think, my only check. And then I follow with my queen, and I think that's checkmate. Let's try that. Okay, I think I got it figured out. I think it's got to be the pawn move for reasons already discussed. They did take it, and now when I put my queen here, what can they do? because my bishop's cutting off this diagonal, my other bishop's cutting off that diagonal, my pawn's covering here, and my queen will be hitting all of that. I think that's checkmate. Is it? Again, I will look for checks first, even though I obviously have a trade or something going on with this bishop over here, but I do not have any checks. Captures. I can capture a pawn, which looks like a bad idea because they have two pieces guarding that and it's not really threatening anything. It's not like opening an attack or something. I can capture this bishop. Are those my only two possible captures? I believe so. What about threats? I guess I could threaten this knight with the pawn. Okay, well, what does that accomplish? If I go here, they just move that back and then, all right. Okay, we finally got one that I'm not seeing an answer to immediately. Threats. I guess I could threaten this. I could threaten that. Anything else? Can't threaten their queen. Actually, I can threaten their queen by getting this bishop out, but then they're going to put a pawn there, and then I've got this aimed at my rook and the pawn aimed at my bishop. So I don't think that's a good idea. Okay, I paused for a long time, and I can't figure out what to do. And what I usually do in those situations is just go with what I would probably play in a game. And I've tried to think about that. What I would probably play in a game is either take the bishop, which was the obvious first thing that I saw because that's the piece that just moved, or threaten one of the bishops with one of these two pawns. But that's three choices. So how would I make that decision in the game? I don't know. What would they do if I took the bishop, right? They would take back. One can assume that they would take back. Then I could threaten the knight with the pawn, but then the knight would go back. Threaten the knight with the pawn again, and that would give me an advanced pawn. And that's probably what I would be thinking in a game. Is there anything else I can do after they take that? I could threaten the knight with the queen. Let me use the same color here. I could threaten the knight with the queen, but then the knight goes back and the bishop's hanging. But they probably have a way to get rid of that problem, right? Let me think about that. They take that, and if I put the queen here, okay, they could just take the knight. And then if I took their knight, they save their bishop. So if I take their bishop, then they save their knight. Wait, then that comes out even. I don't know, but I've spent enough time on this. I'm just gonna take it. Hopefully that's right. Okay, they did take with the knight. So is it the pawn or the queen? The queen is the thing that looked the most promising. But again, I found a way for them to get out of it. I think I'm gonna put the queen over there and see what they did take that. Okay, so we're still even on material. After I take, we're still each going to have two minor pieces, and then they can protect that knight, right? They did. Oh, but not this knight. This knight's undefended. Oh, okay. I feel like I should have gotten more points for that than for those first few that I solved. But this one is rated about the same as the others, so maybe the average chess player, the typical chess player, would find this the same level of difficulty that the other ones were. To me, this one seemed a lot harder and much less obvious. Okay, I have enough time for maybe two more. Let's see. Wait, when did this get turned back on? I turned those off, remember? Sorry, go into settings. Yeah, I turned that off. I did that on video. That's just like cheating if you ask me. I'm turning that off. When did that get turned back on? Because it said, can you put pressure on my king? In case you couldn't read it on a tiny little screen, that's what it said. Can you put pressure on my king? So on the previous puzzles that I just did, was the clue there? I wasn't even looking. I just happened to see it that time. Yeah, that's frustrating. I can put pressure on their king, but I'm not sure exactly how. That's not really pressure, is it? That's just a check. I guess I could bring this bishop out. That's frustrating because now I'm going based off of whatever the clue said. I'm going to go back to my checklist. To my knowledge, I only have 3 checks right now. My checklist is to look for checks. I have those 2 checks. Both of those look really bad. They would just take my queen. This check, I think they would just take the bishop and I wouldn't have a great follow-up. Okay, so captures. I don't have any captures other than this pawn. Well, and obviously my queen can take 3 different pawns, but I'm not going to do that. So threats, the only threat that I could immediately see was to put this bishop over here, which coincided with what the little clue said. Can you put pressure on my king? That's threatening checkmate, so they have to do something about that. They can't castle. What can they do about it? I don't know. Maybe they can't do anything about it. It also has the added bonus of connecting my rooks, so I can threaten their queen and developing the bishop, which I have neglected to do so far. So I'm going to try that. If it's wrong, I'm going to blame it on the hint throwing me off. Oh, it was right. Oh, that's one thing they can do about it. But that pawn's not defended. I'm going to take it, and then I think I'm in the same position I was before, which is threatening checkmate. I'm no longer defending my bishop, but they're not going to take the bishop, right? Because then I'll have checkmate. If I take their D pawn, which they just pushed to block checkmate, they can't move their king at that point. I don't know. I'm going to take it. Oh, they gave away their queen. Okay. I'm going to take that too, and it stopped. Next puzzle, I have time for just one more now, if I solve it in the next few minutes. Do I have checkmate? No. But let's look for checks. I have 3 different checks, 4 different checks, 5 different checks. I'm going to say those 2 are bad, and that one's bad too. Okay, so let's look at these 2 checks. My bishop is cutting off 2 of the squares here, so my opponent would have only 1 legal move. And from either one of those 2 squares, I could come over to the corner and check them again. Then they would only have 1 legal move. And then I could not checkmate them because their knight is guarding 2 of those squares. But I could come back over 1, and then they would have to come out, and then I could check them again. They would have to go that way. I could check them again by taking this pawn, but then they could go anyway, and I would have, and then I would get the knight too. Is that what this is? Okay, but I have 2 different squares that would all work from. So what's the difference between those 2, if indeed one of those 2 is the correct move? Okay, again, I paused for a long time. The difference between checking on d8 and e8 is this pawn, their f7 pawn. And the reason is from d8, the best outcome for me is that whole rigmarole that I showed over there, right where I check. They go over here, I check in the corner, they come out, I check again. They can block with the knight, but then I would take it, and then they come out this way, and then I check someplace over here, and they go out that way, and I take this, and they escape, and I take a different, no, not that pawn. And then we're basically even. And the difference is that if I go to e8 when they come here, I don't have to go to the corner to check. I can check by taking this pawn. And I think they have to block, and then I have checkmate. That's the difference. Because for some reason I was thinking I had to go around that pawn. But once their king gets over there, it's not touching that pawn anymore. I can take it, right? I'm going to try that. And okay, it was that. That's the only difference I could see. So I'm going to take the pawn. Hopefully that's right. And they did. And this is checkmate. Okay. Wow. Yeah, a couple of those were pretty hard. Anyway, that's all the time that I have for today. Let me know how you're doing, in your journey, your process to get better at chess. And also let me know what your process is. I'm very curious, to hear how you are working to improve your chess game. As always, thank you for spending your time here, and I will see you next time.